Namaste. Om Punaha Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmiti Murti Bheda Vibhagini Vyoma Vyapadehaya Dakshinamurti Namah. Om Shanti 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 Shri Guru Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. So, you have all reached one particular end of your life, this particular academic year. You have now examinations. And because examinations are there, we had one session on how to deal with anxiety. This round, we are trying to sort of make sense of how to bring together the mind so that you get the best results. Because it's quite possible that in the absence of an ability on your part, if you don't succeed in holding, you remember the Kathopanishad, how he was trying to explain that the horses are your indriyas. They are like the horses, and the mind are the manas, the thinking. The mind which thinks of different kinds of alternatives is the manas. That is the rein, the harness. And the harness should be in the hands of the person who wants to move the chariot in the right direction, and that is buddhi, that is intellect. That was a beautiful example which was given. How to control your mind. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, we had a lot of discussion. Uh, Arjuna's question for Bhagavan and Bhagavan's answer for him. Arjuna says in the sixth chapter, it is very difficult. You are giving me a lot of speech, how to control the mind, but I find it very, very difficult. You know, it is, very, he says, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi valavad dridham. It's a very powerful agent. Tasyaham nigaram manye vayuriva swaduskaram. It's like trying to control air movement of wind. You can't control the wind. How can you control the mind? And he says, Asangsayang Mahavahu Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena the Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagrihyate. How do you get hold of it? He said, No, I agree with you. I know it's very, very difficult to control it. However, there are two principles I'm going to give you, two keys in your hands, with which you would be able to control it. And what are they? He says, Abhyasa and Vairagya. So remember, you will not be in a position to employ your mind wholeheartedly in a single pointed manner on whatever you are doing if you don't know where from you have to withdraw the mind. Now, in Kathopanishad, what did you get? Or, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, you remember in the second chapter, for example, from verse number 58 onwards, and a couple of, he says, how does the mind actually get connected with external objects? And no, he controls that, he mentions that, but he beautifully sort of mentions it. Why you at all get connected? इसे ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषु पजायते. It starts with one thought. That means the mind cannot connect with anything without an intermediate factor, which is a certain thought. Now, that is the most dangerous thing that you need to understand. That if there is an elephant which has entered your campus, there's going to be a hula balu and people are going to talk about it. You're going to come out of your room. What's going on? Look, one elephant has come into the campus. Right? Quite possible, isn't it? Okay, forget about it. You are in your room, but such an event had happened when you were in your village, when you were in your school days. One elephant had entered into the village. This thought now enters into you. There's no elephant. Are you not going to get distracted? or even a cartoon book where you have read about an elephant character, very soothing, who used to help students in examinations, and that particular helpful elephant enters your mind. Is he going to enhance your concentration? No, he's not going to. Because any thought, he said, Dhyayoto Vishayan Pungshaha, when you think about particular object of thoughts, Sangasteshu Pajayate, Sangas Sanjayate Kamaha, Kamat Krodha Vijayate, Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha, Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha, Smriti Vrankshat Buddhinasaha, Buddhinashu Buddhinasat Pranashyati. These two verses, 62 and 63 of this second chapter. When you start thinking about an object, any thought, that Vishaya has entered. And our Acharya in Kailash Ashram always gives this example. Poison will kill you if you consume it, but Vishaya will kill you even from a distance. It's more dangerous. That is what is there in the Vedanta traditions. Maharaj always says that Zahar khaoge to maroge. If you touch poison, it's going to contaminate. It's going to affect your blood circulation. You'll faint, whatever. It's like a cobra bite. But what about Vishaya? The Vishaya bite is possible without any physical contact with the Vishaya. You can create an illusion of your own mind and think about it and waste 2 hours without knowing where these 2 hours have vanished. Dhyayoto Vishayan Punksha, the first step is a thought, next step is some sort of a tadatma, some sort of a relationship. There is an establishment of a linkage between your consciousness and what it attains to, what it is focused on. Then Sangha Sanjayate Kamaha. That very quickly now produces some kind of a desire, a kind of an emotional movement in you. What if I could get it? Kamat Krodha Vijayate. Why should anger be there? Because if you don't get it, you will get upset. Krodha here is upalakshana for a lot of negative things which will enter into you. You may get angry, but it's quite possible you might feel depressed because you are not getting it. Many of the times when you cannot actually express your emotion, instead of anger, it can also produce anguish. This kind of internalized pain. Okay, so it's quite possible that you have a friend, you both are very good friends, and that fellow is more successful, or he bought a very fancy bike, and you listen to that noise, you're studying, and then everybody is very appreciative of his bike. You're not feeling good. Okay, what does that produce in you? Some kind of a discomfort because you're thinking about it. Krodha vijayate, krodha bhavati sammoha. There's some sort of a delusion, an obsession with this. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Then you forget about what was on your timetable, on your routine, your study plan. All that goes for a toss. You are obsessing about something which is not necessarily central to your plan of attention today. What do you want to attend to today? Interferes with it. Right? Smriti Vrangshad Buddhi Nasho. So the whole plan that you have fed into your system that I'm going to achieve this, that goes for a toss. Buddhi Nasat Pranashyati. What happens to your fate? No, you're going to head towards failure at a quick pace because you have said goodbye to something which is in your interest. Therefore, he mentions in the next two verses, Raga Dvesha Vyuktestu, the one who is free from attachment and aversion. What happens to him? Then he's saying, Vishayan Indresh Sharan. Of course, the music will fall on your ears. Somebody will say hello. Somebody might say something very welcoming, appreciate you, or somebody may criticize you. Vishayas will be there. Your stomach isn't very good. You're going to a restaurant, there's so many things on display. You don't absolutely get attracted. Similarly, this whole sansara shouldn't disturb you. Why? Because you have a goal to achieve right now. Then Atma Vasher Vidhe Atma Prasadam Adhigachati. Atma Vashe, you are the one who is in control of the mind. Here, Atma is your own mind, the fickle mind, the monkey mind. You are in full control of it. And what kind of person you are? Bidhe Atma. Your mind doesn't trespass those lines beyond which, if you delve into those no go areas, you're going to adversely harm yourself. So you become a Bidhi Atma. You're a moral person. Prashadam adhigachati. You get that equanimity, you get that liberation, you get that self awareness. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rashopajayate. Then there is a decrease in the kind of tension and tightness that he feels in his consciousness. Then prasanna chetosho hyashu buddhi paryavatishthate. Very quickly his mind, that is the ultimate sentence about concentration. Buddhi paryavatishthate. You can take it in the canonical interpretation where they're talking about moksha actually, that jivana mukti avastha. But at an intermediate level, if you want to try to make sense of it in our context, that you have to face the examination, it essentially means that you would succeed in your sadhana if you're able to achieve it. We'll go into that details, but I want to give you a context. A lot of people, you might Google and you will find a lot of advice that you don't do it. Many of you have already made wonderful presentations. Anshu made a presentation on digital distraction. Aditya had made a presentation. I think the other guy, Subham, had made a presentation on procrastination. Aditya had also a kind of a presentation on how to sort of deal with external stimuli which distract you, how to achieve your goals. All of you have already made good presentations. You already know the details, how they trouble you. But I have a feeling that if you want to look at concentration or focus in studies as a kind of a functional need, because that's what you need right now to be able to complete your course or quickly achieve things in life. That is at a micro mini level, is very relevant, very useful. But remember, the overall outcome shall not be very satisfying unless you set the environmental aspects of it right. For everything, there is an ecological aspect or environmental aspect, what is called setting of the setting. You want to do something, you have to have a set of variables which positively or negatively contribute to your effort, to your stride towards attaining high concentration. And so, if you look at Patanjali Yoga Sutras, what does it start with? Yama Niyama. These are the first steps, isn't it? So there is a practice of some sort of a self-restraint. Why so? He could have directly mentioned dharana, dhyana, samadhi. He didn't do it. He could have started with pranayama. These are the practices of ekagrata. Because that will not be successful if you don't start with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. If you do all this, then you can do pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. And there's clear advice that you have to look away from a few things to be able to focus on what are you trying to achieve. You look at Lord Buddha, gave that eightfold path. What is the ultimate goal? To get that best meditation, isn't it? To be fully established in that powerful. So if you look at the lives of the Buddhist monks, they are always advised what to do, what not to do. So you need to have right conduct. You have to have. So if you look at even Bhagavad Gita, what are the advice? Essentially, it's either about karma yoga or it's buddhi yoga or Sankhya yoga or you have jnana yoga. But what are the chapters dealing with? You have to have proper kind of, right kind of movement, right kind of food, right kind of friends, right ways in which you must speak. Why are these things part of it? You cannot have a modular solution to the problem of distraction. By trying to focus your mind, you might succeed to a certain degree, but you will not be very happy, you will not be very successful, because there would be lot many factors and variables which are working against you. And the sum total of variables, if they're all pointing in one direction, then your movement in that direction is going to be successful. That is the key point. Because if you have 20 horses tied to and you are holding the harness, but then some are going in northerly direction, some are going in the eastern direction, somebody are going in the southern direction, are you going to make any movement? Therefore, those of you have to understand that an ethical conduct that is advice, it's quite possible. And you must have read, I mean, there's that famous book by, you must be joking, Mr. Feynman, because he says that no, being a great physicist is not about not having a good life. But Feynman was a wonderful person. He was not somebody who was trying to mess up. He was a very ethical character. Of course, there are a lot of people who had ethical difficulties, but they have wonderful sharp brains. You can even criticize Einstein. You can criticize their personal lives. They have different kinds of problems. You can look at this guy, Stephen Hawkins. Personal lives could be messed up. There could be difficulties, but their brains are super smart when it comes to thinking about physics. It's quite possible. But if you look at the overall goal of life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, it's just not about artha. I mean, all your studies, all your physics or chemistry, whatever you're doing, would come in that domain of artha. It's or material success or intellectual success. But life is just not about succeeding in one domain and remaining measurable in all of the domains. So you need a kind of a holistic perspective how to move forward, and therefore it's very important for you to understand this thing, that avoiding or overcoming the challenge of distraction is not about perfecting a few tools and techniques of holding back the mind and engaging it in your studies, but first to set the overall environment for your mind to engage with studies in a proper way. And then you try to focus on it, then you will get very good results. This was the limited point I wanted to mention, because it's kind of overall, if you look at our lives, we are just distracted. This is how sort of it describes overall life. That famous statement by Burton Russell, who said, our life is kind of a distraction from distractions by distractions. You get distracted from one distraction, and then your mind is focused on another distraction. That's what Indian yogi Swami Vivekananda referred to as the monkey mind, keeps jumping. And then often we blame our misery, our sadness on external factors. We try to attribute it to certain factors outside of it, or there are certain internal factors. We would also try to trace it to some external roots, some past event, a family background. Day before yesterday, I was talking to some students in Delhi University, and I sort of encouraged some anonymous questioning. And when I look at you people staying in a hostel, you are far more lucky compared to the kind of students they are there, because they have to travel 30, 40 kilometers to come to the college and study. And somebody has a dysfunctional family, somebody has to do economic activity to be able to continue in their studies. And remember, every day they have to give about 2.5, 3 hours to reach the college and go back and stay. Nobody knows what kind of conditions. Everybody isn't staying in a very good apartment, no? So they are students from different backgrounds. And you're far more fortunate, because irrespective of whatever could be your family background, God has given you right now a very acceptable, very good physical environment, food on time, secure environment, and then you have to make the best out of it. Why I'm just bringing in this aspect, and yet I found some of them were struggling. They wanted to take UPSC, so they are studying hard, and they're trying to achieve. They have a lot of anxiety and challenge, because they have to do their course and they have to study extra, and they have to also find a job. So they're doing 20 things. They're just graduation students, undergrads. There's a beautiful sentence which you'd like. Once, the famous German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." Look at the sentence. If you have a why, क्यों जीना चाहते हैं, आपके पास अर्थपूर्णता है, तो जो झेलना है वो आसानी से हो जाएगी आपसे. You can easily handle the how aspect of life if you have a powerful why. That is your prayojana in Anubandha Chatushtaya, isn't it? Vishaya prayojana adhikari sambandha. You have a powerful yearning in you. You have that aspiration. I need to achieve it. I cannot do without it. Once a colleague once famously made one statement. He said, I'm jealous of those who can afford not to do things on time because right now failure is not an option for me. I looked at him. He said, I am supporting two children, and my eldest son has a medical issue. So failure is not an option. I have to succeed. I have to do everything that's possible. But failure is not an option. I cannot afford to miss a deadline. I cannot afford because that's just not an option for me. This famous guy, after your exams, you can pick up his book and read. Viktor Frankl was a Jew, was in a concentration camp, whose wife got killed, his family members got killed. He somehow escaped. But then he was looking at his life in the concentration camp. When he escaped, he thought about it. During that miserable period, he also found meaning in life looking at the sky, the sun, appreciating the beauty. It was not all dark. The idea is to focus your mind on the positives. It's not an act of cheating. Life is miserable. There's no doubt about it. But then, as there are millions and millions of variables your mind is dealing with. If you can isolate a few that motivate you, take you forward, then your life has a purpose. Otherwise, you are in problem, isn't it? So there's this another statement by this person called Ralph Waldo Emerson. There was a part of my life, there was a kind of a stalemate. All of you have when you have some kind of a crisis, like your father has died, or there's some kind of a once you finish your MTech or MSc, and if you don't join a PhD, you will have a few months of that stalemate in your lives. All of you will have at some point of life you will have a slowdown. But you should not accept that as a permanent state of your life. Emerson says something beautiful. He says, if it's stale water, it's going to stink. Remember, running water doesn't stink. If you become stale water, you will stink. They keep moving, there's no bad smell. And you got to find out what is the direction of your life, and which direction you don't know, you're confused. Look at what's your potential, what's going to give you happiness, where you can achieve things. Move in that direction. Choice is yours. You can choose money or material prosperity, or you can choose which is going to hold your attention over the long term horizon of your life. You can find a job, go and join it, but don't crib tomorrow that I didn't do research, because it's quite possible if you love physics, you didn't do it, you become a shopkeeper or a manager or you become a marketing manager. After 10 years, you will feel very bad because you would have made some money, but that job, that life will not be very satisfying. You have to find your calling. That's why Viktor Frankl says, if you have a why, if you have that meaning, Man's Search for Meaning is the name of his book. That's what I was suggesting that you need to pick up. Or if you don't want to read the book, that is audiobook available on YouTube for free. You can listen to it while walking. Okay. So if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have that powerful understanding of what you want in life, it's very difficult even to get up from your bed. So when you're talking about building a willpower, achieving big things, remember you have to work on that why aspect. Why are you doing it? And if you ask that question, many of the distractions will just go away. Boy girl distraction, some food habit, watching film, this, that. You think about why did you come here? What are the expectations of your parents? What was your goal that you wanted to achieve? many of these distractions will lose their power over you. Because why am I saying this? Self understanding, clarity regarding who you are, what you want to achieve, that long term vision will help you weed out a lot of distractions. These are kind of weeds which grow up on the ground. You have a football match, you have to clean it up, isn't it? Similarly, you will remember much of the weed which is covering the ground because now you have the examination. And you don't need to be very philosophical, focus on two long term things, what you should do. No, right now you have to focus on what you must do. This is not the time to again go to the research journals and look at the papers. You have to look at how much time you have and what you need to achieve. Because the minimum and the maximum, these two words, keep in mind that you have to all the time have a very pragmatic understanding of what is the minimum you want to achieve that will reduce your stress. Because if you look at the book, you're going to get depressed. Whole thing I have to do, how much time I have. No, forget it. What I'm going to do in next half an hour, so you have that minimum time plan. Maximum will wait, but you'll achieve the minimum. And all these minimums that you're going to achieve are going to lead you towards achieving the maximum. Then it becomes easy. So, to overcome distraction, to improve your concentration, first you have to understand how the mind works. And all of you have unique minds. All minds don't think alike. Some minds, remember, there's a typology of it, right? You have already learned about it in Bhagavad Gita. Like you have Rajasika minds or Tamasika minds or you have Sattvic minds. Sattvic minds are ready to get up in the morning and study. Rajasika minds are a little restless. They're pushing themselves. They have problems sleeping in time. Tamasika minds very lazy, looking for easy comfort, social media, blah blah blah. All those things you know about it. We have discussed these things. But if you are in the sattvic state, remember, you can be cheating yourself if you don't connect it to the achievables or the milestones that you must cross today. You have to have your short term goals very clear before you. Otherwise, with a wonderful philosophical attitude, you can be very spiritual and mess up your examination. I'm warning you in advance. Because having a spiritual attitude, having a very good spiritual book in your racks, or having Bhagwan's picture and sharing some social media and blah, 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 these are in fact distractions. Okay? Please understand. How Ravana came to seduce Sita into believing that he's a monk, he came in disguise. Many of our enemies of the mind visit us in disguise. So, why do you think you're doing a spiritual act? You downloaded a video and you shared, or you downloaded some book and you shared. You have to go deep inside. This is not the time to do it. You focus on what you want to achieve. You have already spent 7 minutes or 10 minutes. You could have finished 2 pages of your book because every second counts actually. So if you pick up any book on how to study, they would say that when the deadlines come, you have to drop everything else and focus on it. And that's one of the reasons I myself said that, okay, when exams are coming, we are not going to have satsang. Drop everything. And your book, you see, search for Lord Krishna in the book. Study your thing, whatever you're doing, because that is perfect Vedanta. And that's one of the reasons why Lord Krishna shouts at Arjuna, who's talking philosophy. He says, what has happened to you? Where have you come? You're going to assert your rights. You're in the battlefield. And you're talking about philosophy with me? Exact thing you have to talk to yourself. You have to parent yourself, guide yourself. This is not the time to distract and dabble in things which are very good otherwise. There is always a time for everything. There's a beautiful song that Australian singer has sung. It's called Turn, Turn, Turn. You can just Google in YouTube after exam, not now. He says there's a time for everything. There's a time for your sports classes, your satsangs, there's a time for, and we will go to the details, but remember, your teacher might just call a meeting to discuss going forward. You can just apologize and say, "Sir, can we do it after examinations? If it's very urgent, can it be done within 10 minutes?" Because what happens is you go sit in a meeting, there's a bit of conversation, and then you come back. The emotional time you require to get back into yourself, to do the work which is required for writing and completing that research paper, or to complete that chapter for that particular examination, it will actually create an internal disturbance. Outside, you have not done anything unethical. Of course, if you play some online social media, because now gambling is kind of legal through gaming apps in India, remember these are all evil. I'm sorry, you might consider me very backward looking, but this is all evil because once you get into it, there's no return. And there's nothing called being selectively evil. Don't even touch any of these. Stay away from all these games. Okay. So there were two words we have always mentioned. Lord Buddha mentioned, and all the Buddhist monks say, you need to understand what are the inherited conditions and tendencies of the mind. What are the inherited conditions? What are the key factors which are playing out there? And what kind of tendency it has? Where it is, like for example, in Yoga Sutra, says mind is never stable. Either it flows upwards or flow downwards. Either is going to go towards concentration or is going to take you all over. Lawyer and a big shaper. You have pramana, viparjaya, right? Vikalpa, smriti. These are all vikshepatmika. Laya, sleep, nidra. So these five vrittis are vikaras of the mind. Sleep is one of the vikaras. So yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. So out of these five vrittis, nidra is included. Meditation is not sleep. Therefore, you have to understand it, and then you have to sort of all the time you are sort of, you are in that. You have studied kinetic theory of the gases. You have all the time zigzag motion of the mind jumping from X to Y and back. No, you have to hold yourself. You have to control yourself. Then it's easy for you. One small piece of advice: there's nothing called, when exams are near, there's nothing called good distraction. Normal days you can have bad distractions, good distractions. Good distraction, like today's satsang, you can say it's a good distraction because you are trying to enable your mind to relax by taking its attention off some coursework onto something which is going to recharge itself. You have to reward yourself. Remember this. Before examination, if you don't know what is the secret of concentration, you will not be able to concentrate. And if you try to stretch it too long and stick to that chapter, you're going to get bored to death. You're going to drop the book, fall off to sleep. On the other hand, if you know where to change the chapter, pick up some other chapter, some other book, go to the garden, take a walk, and come back. They have this 25-5 schedule some management gurus give on time management. You study very hard. ये आज मेरा नहीं हो पाएगा, कल चालू करते हैं. No, no, no. You always say, okay, I'm going to study for 1 hour. What I'm going to achieve, don't you bother. You just tell yourself, I'm going to work on this paper. I'm going to finish on this task for next 1 hour. What is the progress? You need not bother. You're trying to create that internal cycle of correct wiring of the brain. The virtuous circuit gets created. Things become easier. What takes you 1 hour takes you 2 minutes, right? You know about it. That is how the mind functions. You have to create that virtuous circuit by repeatedly visiting and going there. At the same time, giving your mind a chance to relax, give it rest, and then you can work for half an hour, 25 minutes, 5 minutes break, but immediately go back. They talk about this 40 winks. So you're studying hard. Okay, examinations. Okay, you have to study for 18 hours, 16 hours minimum. Exam time, right? 14, 15 hours is normal out of 24 hours. 15 hours you have to put in. Okay, if you want to put in 15 hours, forget about all creativity and all. You have to finish. You have an examination. You have to face the examination. But then in these 14 hours of sitting at the table, you need to decide how you're going to give yourself some reward points. I'll finish it. I'll go and have a glass of water. You can keep in your room chia seeds and basil seeds and that what is it called, that bushi, so you can put all that in water. You can have some rock sugar mishri, put it in night and have a glass of it. They can mix sattu in cold water and buy a mitti ka ghada so the water remains cool. Cover it with a wet towel so that it remains cool. Okay, you know the physics thing, right? You just wash it with some salty water to keep the pores inside perfect. So the water is cool. Have a glass of water, add some sattu, come back to the table. Again, make it run. Make the horse run a little. Give it rest. Give it a reward. And that is what you have to do. It's just not about examination. Remember, if you know how to train your mind and convert that into a workhorse, it's going to go a long way, because there's nothing called examination. Because the whole life is going to be like this. You have to have deadlines, you have to do research. There'll be few days of excitement when the paper is published, somebody appreciates, you get a letter of appreciation. There'll be days of boredom, you might get questions. But this, you have chosen. You have chosen a hard path to pursue science at the highest level. Now you have to have the wherewithals. What are the things? Okay. So there are certain useful distractions you can do, but exams are coming. So you have to. And why should you be so much scared of distractions? What's wrong with them? Because remember, you can sit at the table for 20 hours a day and achieve nothing if you're not focused. Remember this. Productivity is affected if you are not fully studying in an uninterrupted manner. And that's a problem. The second one is whatever you're doing, the quality will be low. Really creative insights visit you when your mind is fully focused. Otherwise, you are not going to get those insights. You are not going to solve those problems. And then, if you go on holding a chapter which should be finished in 1 day for 3 days, then you know what? You're going to get fatigued and you'll drop it. Some of you say, nahi, drop kar dete hain, back paper kar dete hain. All these will come because there will be some kind of a stress and burnout. You want to reduce it. So you want to be very careful with how you manage your time. And as they say, every step that you are taking in life either opens a possibility or closes a possibility in your life. So you got to be very careful with how you are managing time and how you're trying to achieve things, because that's going to enhance your career path. The mind is a devil. It tells a lot of stories, sings a lot of stories in your ear saying why you should not do anything, because it doesn't want any pressure. One student all the time would say, what is the need for going abroad? We have top professors here, I'll do it here. What is the problem? And then if you push him a little, he's already got a seat without any problem. He's capable. But he's a little, all of you are a little like Hanumanji. Somebody has to tell him, like Jambaman Daro, you can, of course, jump. I can go to the other side. Of course, you can go. That's not a problem. That's all about reminding yourselves of what you're capable of. You don't denigrate yourself. You don't see yourself trapped in an imagined smallness. You need not be. You need to know your limitations. Of course, that's right. Doesn't mean you want to trap yourself in a limited imagination of who you are by underestimating, by putting yourself down. Remember, if you don't love and respect yourself, nobody is going to love and respect yourself. That is most critical, but today that's not the topic of our discussion. You need to love and respect yourself. You need to value yourself, and you need not put yourself down. Okay? And therefore, you have to understand that every distraction has a huge cost. It has a price tag. Remember, if you don't achieve it, if you have a back paper, you're losing 1 year. Do you know what is the value of 1 year time? So you got to be very careful. And there are a lot of people have written a lot of material. You can find it yourself. The key thing, as I was mentioning already, that like physical distraction. Sitting in the room, some boys and girls are shouting, speaking in a very noisy way. And there are a lot of advice. Like, for example, walking into the lunch or dinner table in the next few weeks till the exams are over, you have to be very careful. Don't join any discussion, especially politics, now that the whole country has heated up on the issue of the terror attack and war and stuff like that. What do you think about it? There'll be a bunch of guys who don't have any work. They don't have any serious goal in life. They are spoiled, they want to spoil others. They are like cancer cells. Avoid them. Don't have anything. Be udasina. Be Maitri Bhava, friendly with the ones who are reinforcing your positive energy, with whom you share the spiritual and academic goals. Those not in your circuit, forget them. You have nothing to do with them. And those who are in your circuit, don't get attached to them, because that again creates an emotional stress in you. Okay. Digital distraction. Angshu made a good presentation. You already have it. No notification, no sound notification. Switch off, delete. You don't need any of these. He had given a lot of data, isn't it? That was a very good presentation. Much of it you don't even need. Don't delete. Okay, switch them off. Background, nothing. You don't need to check. In fact, you shouldn't have any notification to you. No checking emails, nothing. You should only have 5 minutes. In another addiction you have, you are a news junkie. You keep watching this mein kya hua, as if you are in charge of the whole world. You don't have to check anything. And sometimes you have emotional distraction because of any factor. Somebody said something, somebody smiled at you is a problem. Somebody said something is a problem. You don't have time. You have to be very, very greedy about your time right now. कोई अच्छा बोले तभी प्रॉब्लम है. Why? It's going to take away some minutes of your life. कोई बुरा बोले भी प्रॉब्लम है. So you just have to be completely apathetic, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. So you have to be like a what? You are like that ocean where a lot of rivers get in, it doesn't swell. Similarly, your mind shouldn't get perturbed. Bhagavad Gita has already we have discussed that. You should be like that what? That hermit crab. You have a hostile environment, withdraw yourself into the cell. Even a lion cannot kill the crab. Why? The crab has got into the shell. What it'll do? It cannot do anything. The tortoise, can the lion kill the tortoise? No, it has got into the cell. So you should have your hard cell in which you hide yourself. And sometimes you have these mental cognitive distractions. You're reading, and that is very prominent with good students. आप फिर immediately आप चैट जीपीटी को पूछ लेते हो वो concept क्या है और ढूंढ लेते हो और ढूंढ लेते हो. 1 घंटा गया उसी पन्ने में आप हो. Be very careful. This is not the time for all this. And interpersonal distractions, of course, you're facing it. Kabhi kabhi, through studies, especially the boy girl thing, remember, everybody thinks, sometimes if you talk, if you have a friend, it's very useful for your studies and this and that. But a disturbance was that you remember this during exam time and all. If you already have a friend, you have already a plan, you are moving forward, no problem. If you know how to handle it. कुछ लोग ट्यूशन पढ़ा के बिजनेस करके भी पढ़ाई कर लेते हैं बिकॉज देयर माइंड्स कैन हैंडल इट. इफ यू हैव अ माइंड विच कैनॉट हैंडल इट, you understand yourself, what you can handle, what you cannot handle. Remember, your time is very limited, so you just need to know how much energy can you spend. And the social media scrolling and all, having some chatty friends, लाइब्रेरी में जाते हो बगल में बैठ के और तुम वो पढ़ लिया, अच्छा उसका क्या हुआ, you are not going to get anything out of it. Just look at the book you're studying, ignore him in a very friendly way. आपको कुछ ना मिलना है, अपना पढ़ाई किया है, he is relaxing and he'll talk to you, so you have to be very careful with it. Okay. And whether it's a library or it's your office or your room, you have to cut down on the noise factor and try to improve the physical condition of the room, keep it clean, but don't pay too much attention, because remember, now you have to focus on the emotional and cognitive environment for producing your results. Don't look at anything else right now. Everything can wait. Everything can wait till you have finished your your examinations. So First thing is that you decide that you're going to have a distraction free environment, and then you set clear boundaries where you are going to say this is a no go area, I'm not going to do it. So you're going to focus only on the must do right now. There are many things that you should just ignore. You don't have time, you don't have the mental energy. And many of these things that you're using, whether it's ChatGPT or maybe there is some sophisticated app where you are going to find answers, you have all the research material available, they will take more time. कभी internet slow हो जाएगा, so you have to stay out of it. You have to be very, very practical with regard to use of technology when you have very limited time. Otherwise, you will have Bahu Adambara Laghu Kriya, very limited achievement, lot of big arrangement you will do. So don't get into it. And uh, it's also important that there are things where you should be doing, right? Like for example, poppies in the campus, उनको food नहीं मिल रहा है. Somebody needs some help. कोई पहुंच गया, he needs some help. And don't volunteer. Remember, you have so many hours before you complete your examination. So you need to figure out what's your priority. Doesn't mean you're going to be selfish, dirty, and mean. I'm not saying that. But you need to know where you want to put all your attention, what you need to do. There are certain things you can do after the examination. So you have to prioritize things in life, and that's very important. Otherwise, you're going to have some kind of a problem. And doing multiple things, you have to reduce. You focus on one thing and finish it. Some people study a bit of physics, then chemistry, and this and that. If you are doing it genuinely to recharge your mind, that's fine. Otherwise, you are actually not finishing one thing. Tension ho raha hai, dusra khul diye, dusra khul diye. You are just structuring the day to make it look like you are working very hard. You are not achieving anything. You are building up more anxiety for yourself. Q, you are not finishing any task. What are the building blocks of your preparation? You're not finishing anything. You're keeping everything unfinished. ये थोड़ा कर लिया, वो थोड़ा कर लिया, वो थोड़ा, and then where are you? You're building more and more tension. So you got to have that rightly in your mind. Okay? And so you have to have a no interruption policy. You have to have quiet hours. इस समय में no, nobody. Anybody knocks, no. You just write a particular thing, hang it on your door. Don't disturb. Or this is my quiet hour. I'm not going to entertain anyone. I'm not going to talk to anyone. Morning till 7:30 or 8 till breakfast, I'm not going to talk to anyone. You just put it in the table. Don't disturb. Nobody should misunderstand. A lot of people will come and steal your time, not knowingly, but that's how they are. Okay. So finally, I'm saying that because you have a timeline to go and appear in examinations, it's very important that you have to set hourly goals or daily goals. If you achieve it, your willpower is going to be more effective, your resolution is going to be stronger, you're going to feel better. Absolutely don't worry about what you haven't finished, because you are not going to finish it. Any new chapter, any new areas you cannot achieve. So just be relaxed. Make use of what you have studied, you try to revise, you focus on it. Don't get into something, don't open a new book at all. It doesn't help. You should have done it in the beginning of the year. And you talk to, if you have any issue or anything, you can take the help of one of your teachers who actually is good in that area. But new queries, new questions is a distraction. Because here you want to make use of whatever you have studied, वो भी ठीक से नहीं कर पाओगे if you don't focus. Don't be too idealistic. A lot of people try to read more pages, they digest very little. How much you process is more important than how many pages you cover. Because whatever you process is what you can actually, answer in the examination hall. Okay, so, and if you want to, you can take up first, attend to the most difficult, challenging chapters. Everyone knows about it, because easy chapters you can. मैंने 10 chapter कर लिया, makes no difference. Those 4-5 chapters you haven't studied, they will remain points of anxiety and they'll frighten you. So whatever is hard, whatever is difficult, whatever you have been avoiding finish and attend to them now because you still have a week's time, but you just are going to make use of this period only for your revision, nothing else. And so, of course, okay, if you have ADHD, it's called attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. What do you do? Okay, so your mind loves distraction, right? So you use your distraction principle to keep it concentrated. How do you do? Play some study music. There's a lot of deep focus music now on YouTube. So play that music and you study. Mind wants distraction, so you are already giving the mind some music. फिर आप पढ़ाई करो. That aspect of the mind which looks for distraction, give it some classical music, some guitar music or piano music or whatever, violin music, which is contributing to your studies. Then you study seriously. Whenever the mind is restless, it's going to jump around. So a lot of people who have attention deficit disorder should play a bit of music because the mind wants a bit of change. You give it piracy, and then you can focus it. And then you try to establish deadlines for complex tasks. ये मैं अब कर लूंगा, वो कर लूंगा, and just try to finish it. Don't jump without finishing one to another because that's going to prove challenging for you. Okay, a lot of people think because exams आ गया हम walk नहीं करेंगे, कोई physical exercise. No, you have to do stretching exercises. A lot of anxieties get built up if you don't have right kind of blood circulation. You can lie down on your bed, stretch your hands and legs every 2 hours because you are sitting for long hours at the table. So you might develop arthritis. You can develop a lot of, it's called RSS, repetitive stress syndrome if you're typing. So your fingers may pain, your shoulders, back pain, all these things will come. You might get obstetric stomach. So you got to be very careful with your health, right? Because you have to have the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha should be perfect. Pranamaya Kosha, bit of physical exercise. Manomaya Kosha, all that we discussed. Vijnanamaya Kosha, cognitive skills. You have to look at all these four kosas. Okay? And I don't want to sort of, and if there's any urgent activity, or this, there should be no urgent activities before examination. That's my theory. But if you have any urgent activities, you assign a time, keep your distraction note with you, because right now, I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, you can ask, but remember this, that this exercise is just not for this examination. This is a strategy. If you perfect it, going forward, whether it's about any paper, it's about any examination, you're going to be better off. And overall, understand handling distraction is not about doing well in examination. Handling distraction is about getting more out of your life. End of the day, you have a mind. You have limited time. All of us have. So how we focus our minds is going to decide how much we get out of life. With that, I'm stopping here because we have already kind of spoken for nearly about 50-55 minutes. Any questions? I'm happy to entertain, but we're going to keep it very short and simple today. So any questions? If you don't want to ask, you can put it in the message. Actually, I forgot to tell you that you could, in fact, during the whole presentation, you could ask questions so that I could read them and can together answer. Anybody has any questions, you can type or you can ask.
Om Swamiji, Pranam.
Yeah.
You said about like studying 14, 15 hours, but do you think that number of hours, if we just kind of take it to the maximum level, will give the maximum performance? Because I think the mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have clarified that. Absolutely not. But it's not in your hands. If you're doing research, now your examinations are over. You are lucky. So you should be focused on 8 to 10 hours of creative work. But remember this, that if you have a deadline, you have to write a paper. How much time would you put in is not in your hands, because end of the day, you're going to achieve that milestone. You have to submit that paper. It's quite possible that before the deadline, you may be actually working almost 18, 19 hours a day. It's not in your hands. It's about what are you handling it. So there is a wartime, there is a peacetime. Peacetime is when you have normal circumstances to work. And I personally think 8 hours or 10 hours is very good. 8 hours is very good. If you can put in creative 8 hours of focused cognitive work, very good. But then you have a deadline, you have an examination, you have a paper to submit. You are not going anywhere, as I told you. At that moment, you are dropping everything else. So whether it is 12 hours, is
To the
13
student
hours, if you,
orientation.
yeah. So even if you are sitting for 10 hours, 12 hours, you may be actually output maybe 7, 8 hours. That's why I mentioned you have to integrate that with a reward system, giving yourself breaks, giving yourself rest, recharging yourself, because you're otherwise going to hit a dead end. You're not going to achieve. So it's not about hours. You're right. It's about output. Anyone else? Any questions?
And Swamiji, so I think you can give them some advice regarding this. Now, what happens is in the hostel system, before the exam, everyone starts studying very seriously, and what happens is people start coming for help. So, if you're a person, if you're a student who is like studying throughout the semester, people will start coming to you for help. अरे ये थोड़ा answer बता दो. अरे ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. They will send messages before, maybe perhaps
No.
the
You
night
have
before the exam.
you have to put it before your table. I have told you. You have to darwaza mein lagate na consultation time. If you're so kind, compassionate, you want to help others, you say that over lunch hour. अब टाइम नहीं है, लंच टाइम पे पूछ लेना, because that will destroy. If you start parenting others, they have wasted their life, they had their boyfriends and girlfriends, and they want to kill your exam time preparation. You got to be very steadfast and strict, saying मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है, एक काम करना 5 बजे, or you give them a time early morning 5 o'clock. Nobody will come to you. You give them 5 o'clock, you come, I'll tell you. अब टाइम नहीं है मेरे पास. I have something urgent to do. I cannot do it. So that's for sure. A note, sharing of notes and this and that. No, no, no. You have to be very careful. Everyone is responsible for his or her way of handling things. And if you want to play Jesus Christ, that's up to you. You can mess up your examination, but you need to find time. You have to hide from people. You have to go to the library where people cannot disturb you. You can be in your room. But remember, you have to hide yourself. You have to be like what? Like a tortoise, as Bhagavad Gita says. Anyone else? Any other question? Those who are taking examinations. Amitabh is happy. He has finished his examination. Anyone? Yeah? Aditya, please. Yeah. Bolo.
Yes, Swamiji. I had a question that some students sometimes throughout the semester, if they had not been able to perform good, or they might have scored poorly on tests and quizzes, so at the end they are overcome with guilt and then lose motivation, and then whatever time they have and whatever they can sequester for the best of what's possible, they waste that also, and then think that nothing can be improved. So how do you overcome the guilt that has built up throughout the?
Okay. First of all, I would like to say, is it a problem with you? Because you don't have time to now think about others. I tell you, you have to be extremely focused on what you're trying to do. There are a lot of problems in society. What about a boy who had a heartbreak? Of course, he has a heartbreak. He will have some problem. Is it a problem with you? If it's a problem with you, I would like to say, if everything is lost, future remains. What you have lost doesn't, what you haven't been able to achieve doesn't matter. How do you plan to make use of whatever time you have? Of course, you will feel guilty if you have not made use of your time. You will feel like kicking yourself. That's very normal. Then making positive sense out of it is moving in the right direction. You want to drop the examination, choice is yours. I tell you, life is very cruel. It only picks up those who deserve attention for the next stage. All of you are not going to join an IIT or IFC or ISER or Niger to do your PhD, right? Only few of you will be chosen by the system, by your professors who have that dedication, who have that commitment. This is not the time to reflect on the general problems. If somebody has anxiety problem, like last year we had one boy, some psychological issue, you report it. There are other people to take care of him, not you. You immediately report the case to the guy that this guy has some mental issues, he needs attention. Call up his parents, and there would be a counselor, there would be a student union person. You hand them over to him. They will take care of him. You just have to make use of your time, because it's like somebody is getting drowned in the water. You don't know swimming. You go near me, what happens? You also get drowned. And then if somebody gets drowned, you must hold him, pull him back from the backside. If you go to the front, he'll get hold of you. So in search and rescue operations, disaster management, the training is the divers, they always hold him from behind, never go to the front. He'll get hold of you. So you try to help those people, but don't get in the front, because they'll get hold of you, they'll take your attention, you'll get trapped. And of course, there'll be some guilt, there'll be some pressure, there'll be some bad feelings. This is part of growing up. This is not the last day of your journey in life. You are going to grow, you're going to do wonderful things. A failure in one examination is